like the female generation right now with that that right now with like it's going through right now getting cornered with like the rain and like the water loss and the still like I'm certain that yeah my generation right now that is thing on the place that like since they are kids like I'm definitely other than that empathetic side of that is go to like seriously so at this point like the scenario that I'm doing that like I'm doing like even though I'm doing like right now with this like corner 10 situation I'm doing right now like arrange it only straight away deciding to like fight them but like I'm looking right now, since it's like a corner kind of like a situation, I'm looking like it's go be that I'm looking probably sharing like about the of that like you possibly go and follow and possibly something that's like the scenarios that I'm looking so like I'm looking into case like I'm looking like it's go possibly I'm looking telling uh taking the decision, being that leader and we taking the decision to like fight those two kids all by himself. That's the scenario that I'm looking for. So and then the like in that fight that I'm definitely Ichigo would be like trying to like fight them while doing his absolute best to like do so in such a way so as like basically to defeat their water dog without like hurting them. Is like the scenario that I was like that absolute concern and safety that to for Ichigo to like that absolute condition to that without causing any harm to the secret to like take off those two water dogs would be along the line that how Ichigo would be trying to like bring down those two water dogs because you know the brain sense but yes really remember the brain sense that since like the water dogs like the water cap like water dogs is like combined with like the water object creature like what creature like object like I'm looking like it would be like striking like that's what object won't be able to like take out like those what something but new right now with it being raining like I'm looking right now like scenario to be like if you go facing off against like those two water objects of like water balls of like those two kids and I'm looking like in that way like I'm looking like those striking those two water objects like multiple times and yet like instantly like those two water objects like reassuring each and every time like the scenario that I'm looking at and so bring like at that point, like I'm also bring definitely it will be like eventually I'm also bring like the most likely I'm also bring maybe like it will be like you should have that will be figuring out and giving telling it to go the strategical move to that basically focus on striking on that bottle cap like water account especially that's in like the core of like that water object like the river bro like I'm in that way like eventually is your with that absolute position like striking those two water bottles cap and they destroying that waterfall gap within like the water of the region. That's the scenario that I'm giving, and it will be that will be like the weakness of like the water, and striking and destroying that two waterfalls would be like destroying that water creature as well. It's like the scenario that I'm regardless of like the rain that I'm giving those two water creatures like being taken out, especially when it will be like destroying, striking on those two water gap like waterfalls and destroying those two waterfalls. Let's say in the scenario that I'm giving. I'm going to bring like those two kids at that point, like totally tearing up. Just like the scenario that I'm losing them straight away crying as they would be losing. Just like the scenario that I'm in, that would be totally unexpected for my teachers. So it's like the scenario that I'm losing. Such an unexpected reaction from that ticket. It's like the scenario that I was trying. And like it might be when like the very first time in their life that they would have lost the fight. It's also the mirror. So like I'm looking like them crying and like them totally running away. Like the scenario. And I'm looking that also like the moment like those two water dolls would be like defeated and for like I'm looking at that point still possibly like the rain as well stopping like the scenario that it looks so that way like I'm going to go and through like all of them actually seeing that as a tear and basically all that is like just lying and all that like the scenario that I'm going and they would be like trying to like run away. Like the kids that are going will be trying to like run away like the scenario that I'm going. But like at that point, for example, it will be ranging that would be like stopping them and like how they like not allowing them to like escape like the scenario that I'm looking at. I'm looking like ranging totally possibly bringing them to like Murahara home, like the scenario that I'm looking at. And like even though that if you go at that point, if you go and document that point would be of like the mindset of just letting them go because like the it. But like I'm going to be arranging that would be like deciding to like get a revenge and like in his own way. And then but like the scenario to be like arranging bringing those two kids to that for her house for like interrogation and then like through their tactics like like without causing any without cutting them like all just their tactics like and then at that point like those two being like so extremely care getting cared by Randy like the scenario that I'm looking at so and I was like once those two would be repeated like those things would be repeated like their all of their all confidence like getting straight away destroyed like the scenario that so like Randy care that at that point like totally ending up working on them and then also like them totally that interrogation of point is ending up being a success and basically them are revealing everything they know about that everything about like him and so about that and then plan and everything. So definitely not the brand and like I'm like that those two kids like also revealing that like him totally by now has fixed in his mind that basically to like eliminate like this going through. Would be along the lines of those two kids showing that information also revealing like it's going through like also like scenario that I'm different. So definitely like after that then it's also definitely and during this black horse time period of interrogation like I'm going like in between like I'm like Jinja as well as like the other girl in like harassment like I'm going to like them as well totally like quarreling with those two things like that's another direction. So like I'm still thinking about like it's totally going from like an initial quarrel and fight between like the kids to like eventually ending up with like them totally bonding and like that to be formed between like Jinta and that girl and those two kids. So like the one those like the scenario that I'm looking at. So like I'm looking that way, like I'm looking like eventually Murahara taking the reference to that to and telling those kids that maybe that like they are going to like stay here with that Murahara from this point on, like the scenario that I was running, and I was like by then, like I was running like maybe those two kids as well would be like of like the mindset because like from the different maybe by then like they might have eventually through their force fighting and talking, they might eventually form like a bond of friendship between like with like Tinta and like that other guy, like the scenario that I'm looking for, and especially because like I'm looking like really lived like their life at like since place that might have been like at like a bound subordinate might have been like an extremely dull and boring life living that life. So like I'm living like the kids that will agree that and then the framework gets like to like more of living with like in that place and working for like helping or not working for like so like helping for out. Say like exactly that how Jinta as well as Bachelor we can be out in like scenario that I'm looking only for. So like that way them being like those students being like a permanent member of that Purahara, which is like that in the scenario that I'm looking for. And so like I'm looking like eventually like during that the final showdown battle of like is went through with like Sin and Unagaba and Seah army like I'm looking like in that final showdown fight like I'm sure that there these kids definitely won't be part of that fight of like in that army at that point. It's like definitely when like get like I'm looking like and I'm looking maybe like these kids fight and like put out bonded with all of them then like I'm looking maybe the kids like telling if you going through that like they would also help in that final showdown fight like I'm looking but like definitely Urahara totally maybe like scolding them and like telling them that they won't be like fighting any fights from the that you know something along the lines of like in other direction. So like in that final showdown fight like I'm looking like definitely these two kids with like the water won't be part of that Jim's army in that showdown fight in which like he will improve if I come up against that army like army around it like in the scenario that I'm looking at and like the reason that I'm sitting on. So like the minimum representation right now with like physical arranging as well as like Russia getting caught by the giant waterfall of like those kids while Chad Ikeda and Otime don't not getting caught like I'm still definitely my representation right now. It's definitely for like it won't be like it will still be like I'm still prepping like it will be definitely it's go single handedly that would be like bringing down and defeating that giant waterfall. Image like it was trapped and it's definitely my representation. So like I'm looking at even though it's Chad and Fortunate is like turning towards like these both sides to like basically would be definitely thinking of like trying to like help it going throughout. But like I'm looking right now for like the scenario to be like it's go from as like she was like trapped within like the waterfall and but like she was still moving to like arms and like basically showing the action to like to the group of like Sad and Fortunate. So that will like keep running and keep escaping is like the scenario that I'm looking at. And that's what like what to go there right now doing would be like the different like as it go right now it's like trapped within like the water doll and the different like it go right now somehow moving up and reaching up towards like that and making it towards and somehow jumping or like somehow moving upwards and reaching towards that head portion of like that giant water doll where like that water doll cap is. And so like I'm looking like to go either grabbing onto that waterfall bottle cap kind of thing and basically to go destroying it with his like bare hand or like I'm looking like to go totally reaching out to like the factor and basically uh, taken the aim at like that for of that waterfall and waterfall that bottle cap that waterfall thing that I'm looking like is go from as we like craft within that waterfall like into go using that jam factor like striking on that bottle cap like waterfall and destroying it from within as we go trapped within the waterfall. So that's the scenario that I'm using. That way you go bringing down permanently repeating and bringing down that giant waterfall. It's like dealing with scenario that I'm trying right now. So like the name of the thing right now would like the ocean right now staring at this like girl puppet in the shop and that like I was straight away saying that it's like a valuable puppet. Like I was hoping like definitely my recommendation that like seeing that puppet might have the puppet might have reminded like you should know about home thoughts like I'm like in the past like I'm the past like you know might have always have said or and I'm she might have died when she might have been like of like the very same age as like that girl puppet in that shop. That's definitely one of the trends. So like seeing that puppet might have only reminded you know of like data and stuff new one of the and then my different interesting for like how you know thought might have like that system past and was information might have been through that maybe during that one of like the that ambush attack by like the it might have been that during like the system past like the bounce might have done some sort of like a group ambush attack against like uh against like when a small minority of Finches at that point, like a small number of Finches at that point, especially member present. So like I'm looking like while the fight might have been going on, like I'm looking like you know sort of might have like because of like you know missing from like the home like I was looking like maybe just sort of might have wandered out and might have maybe and the person like you know the person definitely you know daughter of person definitely obviously would be like a bound so like people would be having like all this bound powers and they would take definitely another things. So like I'm looking like uh you also know daughter might have been able to like using her powers might have been able to like detect like the direction where like you also know what even from like a distance and uh from the distance and then like use that way like you also know daughter might have that uh like straight away like ran into like and came into like the middle of that whole fight between like the bound army of bounds and like the Vinces and but like you also know daughter that way might have gotten spot in that whole war or like fight and might have not it might not be a war but like kind of like a large scale fight and then like like no problem might have gotten that way gotten caught in that fight and might have ended up dying. Might have been what might have happened in like that different part especially my perspective for example. Like I'm just connecting with like you also know that's like I'm thinking like you also know that might have been such an extreme great shock to like yours and since then like I'm talking like you also know that might have been a major factor like you also know totally representing her actions and correcting her actions and like totally feeling against like the ways of like the bounce and like the lifestyle of like the bounce and basically against like the bounce targeting like the friendship which might have even happened in like the past. Because like from your point of view, you know, might be thinking that it might be because of like just that totally targeting like the things that like basically that was a little of thinking of like like you know might have been fed up with the and I'm looking since then like you know might have even after like losing out or like I'm looking like this no might have totally felt like extremely lonely from that point on and I'm looking that you might have totally experienced being getting might have been getting like more sick and fed up with like the immortal life and everything is like the since then is like doing the scenario that I'm basically everything and what might have happened like the recent past and my revolution right now. But the name of the revolution right now is for this net idea that like Unagawa right now talks to you know, about might definitely be Jin is definitely my explanation and I'm looking that so since like Jin is like the love of that you know that was like the love of Jin. So like I'm looking like Jin and you know might have a scenario that the Kristen passes the name of the friend. So like I'm like just like marry on it, just like puppet that you're you know, like staring at might actually it might have been like the loss of like him as well as you know that they might have had in like Kristen pass who might have died solely due to like synthesis of like daunting to like ambush attack against like the synthesis like it might have happened in like Kristen pass like it might have been due to like synthesis of like wanting often wanting like belong that ambush attack in like the middle of the night against like the Twinsies in like the Kristen pass. This might have happened in like that Kristen pass that might have resulted in like the dog ending up getting caught in that whole fight and ending up that it's definitely my birthday memory. So like I'm since then like you also might have had that they don't have that absolute just like towards like Jin steps, Jin and everything Jin says like and Jin's ways and like so everything that Jin says as for like it being like the roles of like the bounce and everything that totally like since that day since like might have doctor thought like might have thoroughly like Jin and since then like might have only been obeying Jin solely due to like fear towards like Jin it's definitely my friend because like there will be that might exist that absolute extreme villainous side towards like Jin which like Jin won't might not show any hesitation at all to like bring out even if it's toward even towards like the uh towards the like love yours, if like he's unable to like control like the people around him, including yours, like basically so like you might have had that atmosphere towards like James. So then that time that is great number of Muslims you have done that might be like that fear might have been controlling you, but then that time might have caused him because to letting his son to like and get controlled by this and that by supplement of prevention. But like by now, like I'm looking like might have been fed up with that absolute lonely life and basically was like the lot and other things in that absolute lonely life as well as like just like Jen as well, like basically Jen and this place like I'm pretty might have finally right now might have been fed up that like I was like that you might have overcame that fear finally and that might be the reason for like right now in like the present like only disobeying Jin and his order of like multiply without any fear. This might be like the case certainly about which that I'm not the I'm so like the new person right now for like you know right now pending for other that basically unnecessary ambition will like destroy you like basically you're saying that dialogue to that for other might be solely out of like on seeing like that but like being reminded of like of lots of precious sort of intellectuals in past, and this might have been solely due to that just like unnecessary ambitions of like Jin might have resulted in that, especially my consideration that I'm still know so that that would so like I'm talking this might be like relevant from like the current dialogue of to Punagawa that basically unnecessary ambitions will that destroy that means that definitely understanding. My the impressions that like what might have happened in like the past might have been that after like so that like I'm looking like might have badly wanted to like change from being an immortal to a mortal so that like eventually once he dies like she would be like she would be hoping that like might have had that hope that like once she would have easily died that she would be getting uh also by a soul reaper so that like she would be able to like go to like the soul society and possibly be able to meet her daughter and live with her daughter. Like I'm like maybe like I'm like might not have that much of like knowledge and like like a fountain. Maybe like might have been got sold off so that I'm by now like might know a lot about like soul people. It's definitely about like the soul society and all that. It's definitely like this might be like that absolute current ultimate desire for like through desire and goal for desire for it like, might have been might be possible to like be able to like reunite with her daughter stuff in event of parenting. But like I'm just feeling like that huge biggest obstacle in her life might be definitely Jin is definitely my good friend because like Jin would be like controlling her to that extreme extent by instilling that fear and like monitoring her all the time and especially since like Jin had already like basically when he also had returned back recently to that Jin like house like building like at that point to like Jin straight away noticing that basically it's not teaching properly like basically the fact that Jin even straight away noticing and saying that and basically that like it's not like having souls and basically like and all that like basically so like I'm looking like the consequences like not doing that might be like a scenario in which like sin would be like only putting into like such an extreme person kind of like a state and like and making suffer to that extreme and making go for such extreme pains definitely not the extent being like absolute fear of that and then but for the might be that fear that might be controlling your and might have formed like your to like she's taking human souls and like that might just also become my for like even being alive even though the person is definitely my friend. So the question about the what might have happened might have been that or Hara might have through him like sensing that the sense of like the bound like like or Hara might have like found like the possessed bound that or Hara might have found might have been like physically Yoshino or by herself definitely with the while like one day Yoshino might have been fed up and might have been wandering through like the city like I'm doing like that might be even like or Hara might have found like Yoshino and then like they might have had that interaction between each other and I'm looking like during that interaction like Hara might have learned of like like backstory and everything. This is definitely my best friend. Maybe like Urahara might have even promised like to basically console and send to like eventually console Yoshino and send to like the Soul Society. That for Hara might have maybe given this like from of like an offer to like in exchange for like with that just helping Hara out and training Ichigo with the minimum perspective. So like that initial fight was like of like between like Yoshino versus like Ichigo like Ichigo like fighting off against that fairy monster of like like basically all that might have been part of that self training that like might have been giving to like Ichigo if the police might go to the reimbursement. This might be the societal reason for like Orahara like totally being sitting in the permission that this would be like most likely the societal reason for like Orahara totally even back then itself being like well and fully prepared with like each of like Orahara's like mottos like Taruno Nova and Jaren like basically even in their doll form like them totally like these three mottos like being equipped with like sound detection system within them that basically that's the fact that they were all fully prepared and equipped with that with such a system. Even back then, might be precisely all part of the actual practical planning of like Urahara to like give that stealthy training to like to go like in which like definitely like Yoshino as well might have been a part playing a part in especially my according to like what has planned, certainly what might have happened, certainly not the situation that I'm thinking on them. Like the Sunima Bhattacharya and Vishnu right now with like Ganju as well as like Hanataro revealing how like Sonahana as well as like Sukaku like basically sending them to like investigate the strange present in that very exact same city outside of Ichigo. Definitely by Bhattacharya is that basically it will be solely intended to like basically to give Ichigo like definitely with like Hanataro to like basically since like these two both Hanataro as well as Ganju are already have all that went through like that journey with like Ichigo in like the past and that great bond with like Ichigo definitely to give Ichigo that moral boost and like support as like Ichigo will be like struggling to like bring out his like potential. This is definitely my missing like it will be all solely meant for like Ichigo, especially because like definitely my that like it because like even Konohana and like definitely because it's the fact that like Konohana as well as like Okaku doesn't send like especially since like Konohana doesn't send like any exceptionally strong like as exceptionally strong lieutenant to like basically for like SWAT captors like investigate with like strange presence and everything. And instead of that, like the fact that like even Onohana had sent like someone like Hanataro is like that to Hanataro since like Hanataro someone who is like who from points only like healing. So like sending someone like Hanataro to like investigate for like investigation and especially even Fukaku as well like instead of like her showing up herself like her sending Ganju. Definitely Amazon Fukaku would be like a lot stronger and skillful than Ganju. Definitely since like Fukaku as well had sent Ganju to like for investigation and of like the strange substance and everything. Definitely considering that it will all be totally part of that the interaction most likely that might have happened between Genrosai as well as like Orahara, the limit of the Zen might have had that interaction might have happened like after like Aizen might have like stolen like the Hogi Q and the reason stealing like the Hogi Q and like keeping leading to like the world of Holo like they think remember the reason that since when like Genrosai might have had this like absolute worry of like, the possibility of like that day usually happening of like the return of Aizen. So like before that like they might have totally wanted like again Rusa might have been totally wanted to like breach like security and prepare like all the concepts and like the runners to like that as to the absolute maximum to get as much of like support as Rusa can as possible to like ensure like the protection of like the coast side is specifically fair rating. It's like get to this like that top leader like this all that responsibility definitely is will be on Rusa so like I'm like Rusa might not only font for Ahara or like I'm the it is Urahara might have after like learning like I'm supposed to like it might have been like Urahara after learning like the whole situation of like faith and living with like the whole issue to like the word of all of like while in front of Genders and all of them like basically after like so easily outsmarting Genders and all of them like basically while in right in front of them like the help of like the main of Grande and everything like even like leaving and attending to like the world of all of and everything like actually like for Haram when like your team might have spawned for Haram back then itself and might have told Urahara about like I was doing it. Urahara might have only seen this as like an absolute chance to like basically to train Ichigo even more and to get Ichigo to like eventually go up to like the waterfall and fight and defeat Aizen and bring back the whole view from Aizen to the film was like Urahara's like sole target would be like definitely the safety of like the whole view to have especially this like the whole view can't be destroyed like for Urahara like I'm like it might be for like to have like home in like a safe and secure location. And I was like, for Harap, we also seeing like right now with like Ethan taking the whole queue away from the Korea. Right now, I'm going to bring the person like Harap. Right now, like a person seeing like that absolute safe location for like the whole queue to be placed and be in would be definitely within Ichigo would be like around like Torahara would be saying because like Torahara we have that absolute high expectations of like Ichigo. Like Torahara might have noticed by now, might have fully recognized and realized that extreme, like extreme depth of like potential within Ichigo that basically that coupled with like that absolute genuine kind and empathy and goodness of like Ichigo, or might have seen that absolute like that absolute perfect combination for like that exact same slave for like the whole Ichigo to be in. Definitely one of them. So let's to achieve this like definitely Urahara ultimate highest priority at that point might have been to like get into as strong as possible. So like I was like what Orhana might have done might have been like Orhana might have only taken advantage of that situation because like definitely Orhana might have been like absolutely certain that like definitely with like even like outsmarting Gentro even Gentro and all of them and like leaving with the whole issue. Definitely like Gentro would be only worried doing that and so like Orhana might have only expected that and so like Orhana might have phoned Gentro somehow might have got to phone. So like one of these two possibilities that I'm looking at. It might have been Gendro that might have phoned Surahara as like Gendro's way of like being able to like, get as much support as you can to like protect his like such a charity. Or like I'm looking like it might have been Urahara that might have phoned Gendro's side totally to take advantage of the situation, offering help, which like Urahara might have been absolutely confident that like that Gendro's side would totally accept that offer of help because gender only worried to be what or how am I about certain about it. Certainly my brain is like I'm going to my feel like I'm going when we through gender side or how through gender side might have been that how like all this would be happening with like gender side ordering like Onohana to like basically send Hanataro. It's like great from Hanatano to like the very sensitive as like that of Ichigo. I got the real question that's for like right now because sending like Janju, like since like Janju has I had only just now soared up to like the very density as that of like Ichigo. For the black hole investigating like the actuality of the basically my good friend was that it will be most likely through it might be through most likely Yoriji like Yoriji and Sudago such great current like I'm definitely since like I think like the last time Yoriji was even shown was like when Yoriji had was like talking to like asking like Urahara about like Urahara in like a suspicious manner as of like as for like the extreme prepared situation of like nature of like Urahara prepared way of like Urahara like with like it's like 3 months of already having like the bound detection system start like I'm even by then like I'm like at that point might have been like the point where like Yoriki might have figured that like all this like situation was like bounce and everything and Yoshino and everything being all part of like Urahara's stealthy plan to like train into those definitely not the like I'm thinking like what Yoriki might have done might have been like Yoriki at that point might have maybe get straight towards like the whole society and like might have been Yoriki that might have told Suzaku who's like Yoriki's good friend like it might have been Yoriki that might have told Suzaku to like send specifically gun towards like the very same city and so like that way to like eventually have like Ganju and Hanataro usually run into like Ichigo like it went through running into that man basically for all of them to like give that whole moral boost as well as like for Hanataro to like help out by all that feeling that to be necessary for Ichigo as Ichigo would be going through that whole stealthy training and everything. definitely like my future ambitions. Like this might have been what might have been going on, but like I'm looking like all of the Urahara and all of their plans might have been like the moment it all that plan might have gotten destroyed might be like the moment when like Kodagaba had showed up while Yoshino was fighting up against like Ichigo. That point might have been like the point might have been like when like all of like Urahara and all of their plans like still train Ichigo and get Ichigo to like get this off to like to have Ichigo go to like the world of all that whole plan. Like the moment that plan might have totally took that unexpected turn might have been slightly when that Kodagawa might have showed up into like that battle between like Ichigo and Yoshino. Especially what might have been what might have happened, especially with Rainbow right now. But definitely with Rainbow right now with like the water dog right now leading Ichigo apparently as well as like and catching up to that the group of like Chad or him and etc. Like definitely with Rainbow that point the only other possibility other than Ichigo himself like the point that water dog score of that water gap like thing like basically and stopping and defeating that water dog like uh, if it's not Ichigo, then like the only other possibility that I'm looking right now, especially with like the water door right now, catching up to like chat of him and Ishida right now, but maybe like the water door right now, catch up with Ishida. And I'm looking like those kids at that point thingy, those kids bound, uh, those kids bound like I'm looking them totally at that point thinking that like they have finally like completed their mission and like as they would think that like they will be trying to like use that using that bot for like as they would be trying to like yeah make Ishida crown and that they take Ishida's life. Like I'm referring like at that point I'm referring maybe potential scenario being like it's at that point only noticing that bottle cap like force within that water tower. And basically like it's just straight away figuring it out and basically it's just straight away at that point as like Ishida would be like drowning within that water tower creature like I'm referring like Ishida quickly swimming upward within that water tower and then multiple Ishida capturing that um, gathering that like water gas like water and just crushing and destroying that and that like it is like stopping and defeating and freeing itself and defeating those taken down to like the window scenario that I'm considering as well like the only other possibility that I'm doing. So like the thing of brain right now I'm got like chat right now that is next to like near to one of like the bounds and causing like the two bounds to get separated and like that one of like those bounds like being extremely insecure about like them getting split out. Definitely my brain that like so like the whole WaterDoll power, like their WaterDoll power, the power would be only be able to be only even be performable while they them both up together. Definitely I'm the so like about like their actual bounce point won't be like that sufficient or like on a threat level of like strength while they perform their waterfall powers like all by themselves individually supplement like so like I'm assuming like it would be like a team effort that like both of their powers like they will be adding up and creating that simultaneously combining both of their powers to create all these waterfalls doesn't even make sense. And so even when there are multiple waterfalls that it will be only created through like the combined the powers of both those rounds like combined with the team and the so and it might be due to that them both have to like work together to get that level of strength of like the water sort, which is only due to like them possibly being kids that live in the members. So like I'm looking like in the case of like among like Jim's subordinate, like I'm looking like there might be other subordinates who are like who would be able to like single-handedly create like water thoughts that are maybe even far superiorly stronger than like the water thought of like this which would be right now created so the combined power with these two kids like which like that other subordinate would be like because of like that person being like another the other subordinates might be able to create like water thoughts that are even superior stronger or by themselves. So definitely my favorite. So and definitely my favorite is like Ichigo and his like entire crew like including Chad and all of them would be like totally and seriously taking it extremely going extremely easy on those two bounds only they will accept the cases definitely when the frame rate. So definitely like yeah, and those my frame rates are like straight away it would be like from the very first moment like that like which one through had seen these two kids found like at that point till like I'm thinking like it might have been fast to open for them that basically in order to like defeat and bring down like this and stop this water source for them what they have to do is that basically it's just really target those to bounce and bring them down. But like I'm it's only due to like the fact that like they are kids like I'm like Ichigo That would be the sole reason for like Gwen Pro right now seriously having this struggle in that in the current fight against them. Definitely not with the reaction. So like definitely with the reaction right now with like since like right now with like the moment chat has like redirected his like attack from away from like the waterfall to like attacking right next to like the bounce itself, like basically bring down like straight away bring down like the waterfall. Like I'm going to bring like definitely regardless of that, like I'm going to bring like those two kids like once again like that has got split up like once again teaming up and finding each other and like once again like dodging their attacks with the most dog and chasing after like Fisher and all of them like the scenario that I'm looking. But like I'm from this point on, I'm going to like chat to like totally be focusing more on like basically caring those two bounds and like getting them to like split up again and again. And because like the player movement right now, Chan would have only it will be like certainly about the from this point on that would be like strategy that like chat as well chat will be only using and not only that but like I'm looking by the time it's went through making it there like I'm just chat also shouting out to them positive that they really to focus on like splitting up those two bounds so that basically bring down like the what role and for them to like escape. It's definitely my good temperature. So like they will be doing their absolute best and going extremely easy on those two bounds only due to like them being good. Might be what definitely would be going on right now. Definitely my first impression. So like definitely the first impression right now as for like Chad right now telling for him that like he doesn't know what happened. Would be like that would be like an absolute like from Chad side towards like Orhime solely because of like Chad not wanting Orhime to like basically find out like the weakness of like the water dolls and that way that the possibility of like Orhime targeting her attack against like those pounds solely so that like solely due to those pounds being hit minimum premises. So like definitely even though Chad is like friends with like not only Ichigo and Ichigo and all of them, but like even by Chad is also friends with like Orhime still I'm also friend like Chad. Uh, even though Chad would be also caring about like Orhime still I'm like Chad won't be knowing like the care for him at all. It's definitely my concern. So like I'm doing chat might totally right now have that clear that basically like or he may find out like the weakness of like those what about like the possibility of like basically or he may like directing some attack on those two bounds and since they are certain like everything with that they didn't concern that chat would be having towards those bounds and like would be the sole reason for like chat right now would be like lying to him talking not knowing what happened especially when so like right now chat will be trying to like figure out another way rather than actually attacking those two bounds like chat will be trying to like find out might be right now trying to like figure out another way and that way I'm referring maybe like chat would be trying to like basically launch his attacks next to like hanging up repeatedly again like launches attacks next to those bounds and that way to like scare away those two bounds and to that to have them run away and retreat from their battle against like Chad and Ichigo and all of them. This would be what like Chad would be right now attempting. So that way to like in like a concerned and safe manner to like to get those two bound children to like retreat would be what Chad would be right now attempting. It's definitely my victory version right now. And the reason right now and for like we are right now talking about like the resonance phenomenon power like the twin the both twin sound since they have like I'm referring definitely so definitely I'm referring this resonance phenomenon might be like a for pro a unique strength that would be totally exclusive to like all the bounds alone is definitely my victory. So definitely I'm referring like while Soul Reaper as well as Twin Peaks would be exceptionally strong and would be able to like fight like exceptional strong strength and skillful attacks and everything. Like I'm like the case of like sounds like I'm just like similar even while individually they would be like exceptionally strong. Like on top of that, like on top of like their bounds being able to like live on in an immortal manner through like the stealing of like the souls and everything. Like even on top of that, like bounds will be also having like the extreme added advantage where like everything like a great number of bounds with like would be all able to like where each and every single bound would be having like the power to like using the resonance kind of like phenomenon and position like would be a power that would be not exclusive to like these twin bounds but I'm also having like the possibility of like the resonance power like would be like a power that would be like exclusive to like all bounds each and every single bound of that like never been. So like for bounds to like for them to like in a fight like I'm the bound alone will be having that extreme added advantage where like all of the bounds will be able to like combine all of their powers into like just a single bound and basically to have that single bound use all that combined powers and basically unleash some sort of like an ultimate powerful attack. Definitely my preference, but like that is like an individual scenario that it is so different. And preference this would totally have like a conscience to like Yoshino's like a recent dialogue to like Odagawa that like the world doesn't revolve through momentum. So like Yoshino even talking about momentum as well. Possibly might be Yoshino totally maybe for sharing the black hole thing was like momentum would be also having like a connection to like the mobility of the power of ultimate which would be such a unique and ultimate power of like the bounce using which like they would be totally fully able to like, combine their powers and launch an ultimate massive attack power combined power charge attack that limit of the and this is how I'm looking like in that ultimate showdown fight between like Jin and his like subordinate bound versus like a event. So in that battle like I'm looking definitely I'm looking like Jin totally like unleashing such a combined phenomenon for the swing attack with like all the other bounds like basically giving out like all of like their combined bound powers to Jin and basically Jin combining all of that combined bound powers and basically combining it with his own like his own bound powers and energy and basically unleashing out like an ultimate powerful attack against like it's going to if you die to go and go like anything the scenario that I'm looking at the end of thing. But we understood that like this might be like the actual reason for like Jin not wanting like Yoshino to like stray away from like the group and always wanting Yoshino to like stay close to like the group of bounce to their base and everything because like I'm looking at certainly would be because like bounce would be having that ultimate phenomenon power of like ultimate where like they would be at their on while they would all be together and basically will be able to, the team will be able to like combine all of their powers. So only at that point that they will be able to like fight at its like maximum power and potential. So like I'm like having this like group of like straight away would be like on top of like the army rate of like pounds are reducing, like causing that increasing the possibility of like that straight away bound it's like a bound single even if like a single bound member strays away like the number of like the total army is bound reducing but even more than that like it would be like greatly having an effect where like it would be greatly reducing that phenomenon combined power attacks that since will be able to like use by himself by combining like the power of all of his like subordinating including your small human digits. So like this might be that one main factor. The actual reason for like still wanting like Yoshino to always go beside him and like he definitely wouldn't have anything to do with like since loving Yoshino. Still having that love for Yoshino or anything is definitely never with him. So like that's name of the person right now as for like with new characters like Koga as well as like this other person, serious person who's like reading like this book in like a lot like but like those two would definitely be bound as well and like there would be like bound subordinates of like Jin is definitely my perception. Like there will be a lot of bound in like Jin bound army. And about for like among like the subordinates of Jin like about like it should be that about the to be that new character who's like right now reading like the book in like the dark like I'm looking him to be like the strong subordinate in like Jin like bound army definitely my perception. So like he I'm just like him to be like the second strongest even past stronger than like even like I was talking about the princess and also Koga as well. I'm looking for like to be like the third strongest in like Jin's bound armies, with the reason. But I'm still thinking about the condition that it would be Jin that would be the strong. It's definitely my victory of this so definitely as for like right now like that she's new character who's like reading like the books like basically asking Koga telling Koga that basically you are the first one like I'm like what he would might have meant would be like that like Koga is like the first one to like ask that question that basically among like the bound entire bound subordinate like Koga is like the first person to like ask about like basically what happened to like the fourth bound group. So it's definitely it's my doctor so like it might totally have so like my represents that the twins like 4 pounds like like due to the 4 pounds like like in like the person like the bounce will be like the majority of the bounce the bounce might have been annihilated and wiped out due to like the quincy due to most likely the solar report using the quincy in like the path to like wipe out and eliminate like the bounce in like the bounce might have been what might have happened if the maybe like in due to like in like the bug maybe like the bounce might have totally like sold like the might have taken like and stolen like the souls of like living human and that way might have caused that whole tunnel like situation with like into like the world of horror from like the world of living like that kind of like situation might have totally happened in like that impact and that way like the whole study as well as the human worlds might have in like the various impact might have been under threat of like being getting taken over by like the world of horror. So like I'm using it might be during then that I'm the very discussed in 2000. The total records might have sought like the help of like the Quincy's to like bring down the bounce might have been what might have happened if the new level three that is about new level premise. So like that way like I'm just going like the survivors after that swap between like the Quincy and the bounce. And I was wondering like that also might be due to like the Quincy's naturally having like advantages for it against like the bounce while bounce will be like inactivity will be exceptionally strong that like the Soul Reapers won't be like the Soul Reaper army might have definitely not been able to like defeat or down. Also like they might have brought like the help of Quincy to like really tempering down and wipe out like the routes might have been what might have happened in like the past and about 15 months right so like I'm like after that whole war and everything like I'm looking like only like very less numbers of like the mounts might have survived so definitely might have been they might have only gone into hiding so definitely so like that was instant like I'm looking might have been like that Iron Gordon's rule that might have been passed down or the great number of years in like the past among like the group of clowns that they should always stick together that they can like get targeted at any moment by like the hints or like the whole thing of that like any moment. So like basically they should all like their remaining few numbers of like the mounts should always stick together that way in the end, especially since like the mounts is totally having this phenomenon of sex the power of performance that they will be only able to like fight at their absolute maximum potential and strength when they are all together and when they can like combine all of their powers to like one bound among them. So like basically because of this reason I'm considering that all the bounds would be like might have been Simpson, might have been like always like it might have been that iron golden rule and like the remaining surviving bounds might have all followed that rule for the entirety of like the great number of past years even to like the present. And that might have been what might have even allowed them to like survive for the great number of years even to the present. So also definitely my remember. So definitely all these bounds would be like only aware of that history of like the bound tribe like almost getting like wiped out and facing almost about to face extinction and ended up being in like the world of extinction in like that system of like about that history like all these bounds even in like the person would be aware of it. So like I'm just saying like it might have been that way that and I am golden role for all of them to like stick together. So like right now the recent behavior of like erosion of like basically doing street places and basically like because and that I'm thinking that maybe them would be sort of like being fed up with like gin and have found life and especially because I'm thinking that maybe that and gin like not might have died due to like gin's like unnecessary ambitions in like the about so like might be fed up with immortalized as like a part of like the bound group. And so like I'm sure might be like after like great number of years like might be like the first person to like not follow like the rules of like, the bounds and basically used to act in like in different manner and act against like the rules of the bounds and basically to move away and like to maintain a distance from like the remaining of like the bounds. So like this might have been such a shock to like all the rest of like the bounds, including Koga, but like I'm assuming like it will be only like the bound Koga that might have even been like the first person to like ask like that other bound who's like right now reading like the book that basically along the lines of like what's going on, like that's definitely massive. That this might have been what might have happened. It's definitely not very impressive right now. So that definitely not very impressive, but like in like the current bounce arc, like I'm going to like just definitely pretty like because it's being like a 20 and 20 definitely would be having like that advantage against like the bounce. Like I'm going to like in the current bounce arc, like I'm going to like for to be like each other that will be getting like even more of an importance and even more of a spotlight and in like this final showdown ultimate war against like the bounce that will be happening as you can see like the scenario that I'm looking. So like I'm also like simply because of all this I'm also felt like it would be Ishida and not Ichigo, the protagonist. That would be like Amber's bring it to be Ishida that will be fighting against like the main boss villain of like the bound, which will definitely be Jin. While in the case of Ichigo, like Amber's like Ichigo, but during that war, like Amber's like while Ishida would be fighting off against Jin, Ichigo would be also fighting in that war, but like Ichigo would be fighting off against like that says exact bound that's like right now reading like the book who will be like second strongest after Jin. Like like it would be against him that Ichigo would be fighting during that final showdown fight. This like the scenario that and like against Koga. Definitely would be like Chad that would be fighting off against Koga. It's also definitely like the scenario that and my was impression that like that way like all of the heroes crew members that would be getting that major power state and that zero in their strength through the whole final showdown fight that they will be having against like this and this like bound army, especially with Remington. So now even getting back his powers of well, all that happening during that final showdown was like the scenarios that are getting at. So that like once like it went to be finally defeating those bound armies like Amazon by then like Amazon like it's going through would be all set with their whole power upgrade. They would all be like to then that whole would be all set to like make their whole infiltration into like the world of Hollow to like basically to eventually make it towards like Ethan before like Ethan like attains like the power of the and to stop and fight and bring down Ethan like to do all that, like it went through at that point would be absolutely their army. It went through like army would be like absolutely ready with all of that having that growth in their strength. So definitely my friends and I'm just going definitely as part of the towards team like I'm that would be getting that power upgrade and growth like I'm putting like I'm definitely putting like even right now since like Gandu as well as like Hanataro as well. That is in like that's very clearly clear like to I'm also like during that final throwdown fight against like the mounts like I'm doing even Anataro as well as like uh, Ganju as well would be getting some sort of like a major power upgrade, respective major power upgrade, just like Hanataro and the like even that growth in his like powers to like heal. And in the case of Ganju as well, I'm also like Ganju as well getting like some sort of like a major power upgrade, which would be like in his like area of like his Ganju strength where like it would be most likely the way of like a trickery based kind of like fighting that in such fighting like Amazon Janju as well, getting that as growth in his skills. It's definitely also like an major scenario that in the show the plan of championship fights. Today I'm talking about maybe a bit about the way that basically like the current unusual fever kind of like a situation in which like Ichira is in like Amazon like that possibly having to do with like not like Unagawa like force attack that Unagawa had done to like Ichira, but like that possibly having to do with like the 20 powers within Ishida that like Ishida has lost way back in like Soul Society. Basically, like Amazon like those 20 powers will be slowly starting to like return to Ishida. So like Amazon like the like Ishida's body would be currently going through like the process of like basically those 20 powers like slowly rebuilding back and basically returning back to like Ishida. It's like the scenario that I was saying, and Amazon maybe like the side effect of that possibly being like the fever in which like that like it's like currently going through. It's like the possibility. It's like maybe it's only like a possibility that happens over again. So that's maybe I'm saying right now that it needs is that recently while like Yoshino was taking care of like Ishida basically in like Yoshino's face like Ishida has basically was like a reminder of like Ishira's motherland. So like that might on the outside and like sadness on the inside. Like I'm looking like might be due to like maybe like Yoshino like on seeing like on finding out that Ishida is like a Quincy like at that point like I'm referring to Yoshino's memories might have that old memories of like Yoshino might have came rushing in of like that past incident which might have happened where like Yoshino might have got hurt out solely due to like like unnecessary ambition of like basically destroying like getting revenge for they were like destroying like the Quincy and basically version of not getting caught in like that whole in between or that whole fight that might have been taken place and might have died through such a manner. So like I'm looking like so like after since then like I'm looking it might be only like the person that like those might have seen another twenty the name of the frame like in Israel the name of the frame so like that way like that might be the reason for like by taking care of like Ishida and then was like you should even taking care of like Ishida Maybe also due to that, like, not only wanting to like stop Jin, but like might have also felt that has to regret as well as for like because like I'm mentioned like losing losing her thought like I was saying might have not felt that basically and because that it was like an unnecessary ambition of that then in which like back then like Yoshino as well might have been a part of that and it might have been that ambition like against like the 20 like Yoshino might have regretted that as well especially my good impression and like Yoshino might have also maybe thought along the lines of like basically like it might have been like punishment for that unnecessary ambition that might have destroyed his life might be also along the lines like being part of like that unnecessary ambition that Yoshino was part of that and that might have resulted in like Yoshino's life as well getting destroyed might have been also along the lines Yoshino might have spent. So like I'm for instance then Yoshino might have also had like a regret towards like the twin peaks as well. So it's like them attacking like the twin peaks as well might be also the case especially when like collectively this might be also like the reason for like I'm saying like while taking care of like Ishida, the twin peaks Ishida like have like space reminding Ishida of like that very same facial expression as that of like Ishida not with like with like a smiling face outside and sad inside with like my personal reaction have right now. But basically, I'm still thinking about the parameters that basically as for like why like the bounds are so focused on like specifically we should due to like should being like a country would be at least definitely a particular information but like would be because of like countries naturally being like so having that great advantage in like in terms of strength against like naturally having that extreme advantage of strength and power against like specifically the bounds. Definitely my so definitely that the bounce would be totally feeling threatened by that the team instead of even though Ishida doesn't have his like 20 powers like the bounce collectively might be fearing like the possibility of that Ishida getting back his powers and that way becoming a major threat to all those bounce. And this might be the reason for like the bounce like right now it would be like a high priority for them to like basically eliminate Ishida before like Ishra gets back his like visit out because Nima is rented. So like right now itself with like Ishra in that factory location like literally Ishra right now feeling like extremely down and disappointed on himself with like him not having like 20 power combining that with like Ishra's like persistent fever and combining that with like it's a current situation with like it's not only it was like Ichigo and Crow and all of them being right in front of Ishida, yet like Ishida struggling against that uh, like water towers like right now but like most likely for like maybe of like a scenario where like it's like a bit of like it's like 20 powers like so only a bit of like 20 powers of running back to like right now and I'm definitely right now it's like instead of like struggling against like that water tower like I'm like that would be like totally looking like suffering even mentally to the extreme because of like like extreme disappointment in himself that like basically he's like the current situation but like he's like totally so weak where like he can't even defend or protect himself and that way like it should have been a burden to like it should go and probably along the line it should have been like having that feeling of absolute disappointment in like should have that like I'm looking like that whole separation resulting in like it should have possibly being able to like access a bit of his like 20 powers right now. So like getting that possibly a bit of his like 20 powers right now in like a possible scenario that I'm considering right now. And using that power like I'm just like it's that only like even while in like the grip of like that what and all what reach or like I'm like it's that only reach like totally unleashed a bit of his like 20 powers and that itself like being able to uh like being that itself like it should have been able to like free himself and it should have like quickly grabbing that like bottle cap like water tower which will be like the core of like that core of strength that allows like the water tower to reach up to like allows for its strength and everything. So like if you like to figure having that and they should like quickly correcting that water cap like water tower at that point and destroying like the water tower monster right now. It's like in the scenario that I'm looking at. And that way like if we should have in a look at that trying manner for it should have humble Nagishira himself that freeing himself from like the water tower and destroying and defeating like the water tower, which like neither Ichigo like Sad and all could defeat. Is like the scenario. And yet Ishida even doing that without like launching any attack, without targeting that, without launching any attack on like the twin bounce. is like the events scenario that I'm going to bring and my tutorial. That way, like instead of achieving what like neither Ichigo nor Chad or the others could achieve is like the current scenario that I'm just bringing up. The opinion for that to be like such an absolute moral basis for Ishida. It's definitely my tutorial. So like the name of the ambition right now for like right now with like the two what about like those and Gundam like about to take the like to go come with him. Like I'm going to bring like definitely right now the connect. This would be like the point where like I'm going to make it Ishida would be like being like the one to like save it to going like that way Ishida getting like spotlight right now. It's like the scenario that I'm going to bring and definitely I'm looking at it to be only as parts of like the waterfalls goal as well as Gundam that might have entered like the body that is going through like the scenario that I'm looking for. So like I'm looking for like right as like goal and Gunter would be about to take the going through life, but then with last second after the like that situation like only pushing to that to like be able to like bring out like a bit of it like in people and that being more than enough for like that to like destroy and take the life of like both Gold and Gunter, like those two water so instantly it's like the scenario that I'm looking and that way like instead of saving like it's going to like the scenario that I'm looking for and the same version right now. Like the name of the same version right now the like one of like the TwinBounts like basically using consciousness and like with like the single bound like basically right now like trying to attack it, you go like that name is something like without the resonance power like that would be like the core advantage of strength which would be like all the downs should be like having definitely my brain person. So like the thousands of power of resonance and the government right now like that single water dog like created by that single bound that number will be that fast to extremely weak. Definitely not the same version that like I'm like a single shot strike itself like I'm if you go like straight away taking out that water dog that scenario that I thought because of pregnant. So like the minimum question right now as for like the moment like the water door bottle gap like sinks that got burned and the soil itself like those two twin bounds like totally dying and vanishing away and disappearing. Like I'm suffering that so definitely my information that like this would be the case of like the powers of like each of like the bounds like their ultimate weakness would be that I'm suffering that each of like the bounds will be having like this bottle cap like tiny circular bot cap like thing in which like I'm different all the souls like that like basically all these bounds will be like healings for them to like remain immortal like all that souls will be stored within that tiny bottle cap like thing. The fling with Remington, which like I'm like each of like, the bounds would have to like totally use all these that all of each of their like bot cap like thing for them to like even that is just definitely not a great for the season fight. So like in a claim like in the case of Udagawa, in the case of like the snake Frida of like the main snake Frida of Udagawa, and those are definitely in the belly, in the stomach of like that snake Frida, like there will be like the bottle cap kind of like thing that belongs to Udagawa. The same like the creature snake creature Frida the breed of Delhi supplement approach. So like I'm when it would be the same case for like in the case of like Yoshino as well. Like in the case of like Yoshino like fire genie kind of like fire monster with which like Yoshino had fought of like earlier against like if you were like even within that fire the fire monster like flame monster itself like I'm like for like even within that flame monster as well like there would be that body cap kind of like something which would be which would contain all the soul that like so far like Yoshino might have uh, uh, stolen definitely not the famous. So, like this would be the case. Like I'm like so like each and every single bound like as to like the fighting method like I'm going to be through only through like all these creatures like they will be having all these creatures to do all that fighting. So like exactly like how Frida, exactly like how Onagawa have Frida, exactly like how that you know have this like theory giant monster, and exactly like how like the twin bounce had like the water source monster, like water creature, like I'm like even Jin has would be having like his own bounce creature to do like the fighting for him. Definitely might be like the case of definitely with Rabbit. So like I'm doing like Jin's like creatures, like which bounce creature would be like the strong among all of them. Definitely when there. So like each and every single bounce, like how they will be fighting would be exactly supposed such a manner. Definitely my best. Each and every single bounce would be having such kind of like their own creatures. That would be like the one that will be on the fighting is definitely my totally impression. So and the weakness of all these bounds to like take all these bounds would be to like basically to like steal away, take away that bottle cap like thing that is excess percent that contain all the stored souls that they have stolen so far that might that is be present within like the body of all these black creatures that would belong to like this bound. To destroy like that bottle cap would be would mean like instant death of like the for each of those bounds. Would just definitely my consider. So definitely as for like the twin bounds right now being so extremely young, like and might have been due to like this these twin bounds possibly having like having even from like the about like these twin bounds even back when they were only kids, like they might have started like stealing human souls, might have been what might have happened. They might have been constantly stealing human souls since like back when they were kids. So like I was wondering since then like their aging might have stopped since like might have been what might have happened. But like while in the case of like Jin and the other grown up subordinates of like bound subordinates, like what might have happened might have been like they might have all patiently waited until like they grew up into like adults so that like like it will be at like adult stage that like the bounty will be able to like fight with their maximum potential and power. So like this might be the reason for like the other bounds being all adults is definitely vegetarian. So like like in the case of like the twin bounds like like them being so young might have to do with like maybe them not having the patience to like wait until they turn into adults for them to like feel human. So is like one possibility that I'm considering, or like the other possibility that I'm considering would be like it might have been solely according to like the order, the villains and strategic order of like Jim to those twin bounds to like basically start for them alone to like start consuming like human souls uh back when they were so extremely young might have been like a strategy get attached by that Jin so that like basically even the opponent like so that like basically maybe like Jin might have expected like might be like both twin bounds might be like Jin's strategy on basically to basically like make it difficult for like if like the enemy that like the bound to be fighting off against like have like a certain level of empathy to like make it that much difficult for them to like basically attack those twin bounds so that those TwinBounts could only take advantage of like such a situation to like with their water those might be like a strategical according to a strategical plan, domestic kind of a plan of like Jin that Jin might have forced like those twin bounce back then when they were young to like start consuming stealing like human souls might have been what might have happened. It's like plus opposite to that happened like the flavor of preemption right now, the black oil film right now, Ishida missing and like the badly weakened, I think the Ishida like basically walking away all by himself. Like I'm looking like the Ishida will be going will be like I'm definitely but like might not be like some sort of like a unique power of like one of like the bounties in which like they will be able to like, remotely hypnotize Ishida and that way you are entering and them attempting to like lure and bring Ishida to like the base of like the bound to like that way at that point to for them to like eliminate Ishida. Won't be the case with definitely member crazy. It won't be like the case where like basically like the bounce had initially sent like the twin bounce just because like they might have not felt that basically like the going to the extent of like hypnotizing and bringing Ishida, they would have to like go to the extent of like hypnotizing and bringing Ishida or anything won't be the case with definitely when replacing. Actually, what it would be like happening right now would be like the reason for like Ishida missing right now would be solely because like Ishida would be well and fully conscious right now and Ishida would be like conscious they might have taken the decision to not be a further burden to like do it because like the last thing Ishida would want right now would be for like for Ichigo and Kuro to like and something actually happening to like even if something happens to like even a single member of like Ichigo's Kuro like his friend like basically and that will be something that Ichigo won't be if that happens solely due to like Ichigo not having his powers then that would be too much for Ichigo to handle. So like I'm like Ichigo right now would be like as he's like walking away all by himself like Ichigo would be right now planning on like trying to like find like the base of like the mountain and since like the bounce are like specifically after Ishida right now. Like I'm just like Ishida would be like totally might have totally fixed in his mind to like go to like the go all by himself to go to find and go up to like the base of like the bounce, and they are like even if it's like that like line away for it. It mindset would be right now would be to like basically even if they throw his like sacrifice to like protect his like front would be like should have plan. It's definitely my book friend because like I'm the friend like I would get only feeling as it's like basically it's only due to like it's starting a twin feel that basically to go and the others are being even attacked by like the bounce, like the twin bounce and everything might be something that Ishida might out of expect. So definitely my book friend. So like to say it's when Ishida might be trying to like right now find and goes to like the base of like the bouncer right now. Definitely my game. But and then like by the time Ichigo and Crow will be like finding into like I'm just like that would have made to like the base of like the bounce is like the eventual scenario that I'm made to like the base of like the bounce and to where like Jin would be. Is like the scenario that I'm looking at and then like I'm like it will be like it will and then at that point I'm like it went through like creating like their master ultimate strategy to like basically brainstorming and like creating like the ultimate master strategy to like ambush and to ambush like the base of like the base of like the mountain to like save the million of the because like I'm like by then like I'm like in like it goes through like I think one of them like most likely I'm like it would be like Rukia that might have either Rukia or like maybe Chan sample like come to like the control set and figuring it out possibly that basically if it might have decided to like save Ichigo and Crow by like going up to like the base of like the bomb himself and letting himself capture like might have been what might have happened like like either Rukia or like even Jazz story maybe like figuring that out and that way like Ichigo and Crow like creating like the ultimate map strategy to like basically to infiltrate and ambush like the base of like the bound the base of Jin and the bound army and basically to that way to save Ichigo like bagaimana like such a strategy like it went through like actually figuring out such a strategy and like them making their infiltration into like the base of like the bounce and bagaimana like it would be maybe at that location of like the base of like the bounce that the ultimate showdown fight between like Jin versus like this literally happening this will be between like Jin versus Ishida and like Ichigo versus that like bound that was like reading in the dark and like Chad and Toga and the scenario that I'm referring and I'm referring definitely the scenario will be like Ishida going up to like Ishida would be like going up to like the base and like letting himself captured by Jin and I'm referring like Ishida would be trying to make that condition with Jin that basically in exchange for like Ishida's life like that Jin should like spare the lives of like Ichigo and Kuro. But like I'm saying, like by the time Ichigo and Kuro would be like infiltrating into that base of like Jim, like at that point as well, I'm saying like you should have only pleading to Jin to like spare Ichigo and Kuro's life, and Ichigo totally telling Ichigo and Kuro to like leave. But like I'm sorry, like at that point Ichigo and Kuro not willing to leave, and neither I'm sorry, like Jin at that point like pleasing his word at all to like Ichigo either. And Jin totally like telling Ichigo that basically that she's him and with like army of bombs are going to like eliminate Ichigo front like each of them like Ichigo and Kuro like the scenario that I'm looking at. Right now, I'm like during that whole situation that like I'm like it should have totally being in like an important kind of state and like it should have been nothing like it went through like being attacked by the great army of like the number of army of bounds and I was like eventually in that fight like I'm looking like one of like the bound subordinate of like Jin that's badly injuring Orkin and like as that bound subordinate would be also about to and at that point like Ishida would be like extremely for Ishida would be extremely suffering seeing all that and as like that one of those bound subordinate would be about to take Orkin's life like and that very last second is when members think that would be like the ultimate pushing factor that would be like bringing him back. Okay? That would be causing like issue of like 20 hours to like not only return back to like but also to like return back way stronger than before. It's also like the mental scenario, which like I'm looking at that point, like when like the fight between like Ishida and like Jin would be happening. It's definitely my brain. So the same the brain person right now as for like Jin and it's like army team of like Bounce like basically laughing at like as they find out that like basically the twin Bounce have died. Like I'm considering definitely it might be due to like the twin Bounce like possibly being like the weakest link in like the entire group of like bounce of like Jin's team Jin army is definitely my favorite. Like they might have been like the twin bounds might have been like the weakest link for a long time. It's definitely my favorite. And Jin might have been not wanted neither Jin nor like the majority of like the bounds might have not wanted like the twin bounds to be part of like their group anymore. And like even though it might have been according to like Jin or that basically those twin bounds might have started like basically uh, started like stealing swords even back then, back when they were kids. Like I'm still like like after a certain point, Jin might have been disappointed in like the performance of like the twin bounds, and I'm bring like at that point, from that point on, like Jin and like the majority of like bound team might have been seeing like the twin bounds as their weakest link. It's like they might have felt that they have no use of the definitely frame. So like I'm looking like even sending the twin bounce off to like basically to fight to basically bring back Ishida might have been like a conscious and villainous kind of like a decision by Jin and Jin to like basically to get rid of like those twin bounds. Is definitely my good favorite because like Jin might have totally expected like the twin bounds to like end up dying in like their attempt to try to like attack and bring Ishida. The pinch Ishida is definitely my friend. Jin might have only expected such a scenario. And so like I'm a friend like it might have been like the villain stick Jin's like attempt to like eliminate the string bounce that might have just now happened. That's definitely my friend. So like definitely like I'm very like so like with like the revelation of like the twin bounce that's like Funagawa, like I'm like as for like along with the like the majority of like the other bounce as well, like realistically laughing like it might be due to like those remaining bounce, like majority of like those remaining bounce instantly realizing that what the villainism that like Jin has done of like really eliminating those twin bounds by tricking them. And basically, like those remaining bounds as well would be so extremely would be of such an extremely villainous nature that they might have enjoyed that, if that villainously enjoyed that realization. What might have happened is definitely my same, but might be the reason for like them all laughing. It's definitely my right now.